Our next lady on the stage is Hilde Corneliussen. She's a research professor and head of research for the Technology and Society Group at the Western Norway Research Institute, or Vestlandsforskning. She holds a PhD in humanistic informatics from the University of Bergen, and her interdisciplinary research addresses topics such as gender diversity and inclusion in technology. Today she will share insights from her recent book on how women are doing IT for themselves. And the book title is Reconstructions of Gender and Information, Technology, Women Doing IT for Themselves. I have a question for you, Hilde, and listening to Ayla, I was wondering, I'm originally from Eastern Europe, and we didn't have the perception that women can't play chess and women can't do maths and women can't do STEM. So I'm very curious to hear whether that's a Western phenomenon or whether there is something else at play. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here and celebrate with you. And to your question, yes, I will answer that during my talk. I have to say that the subtitle here, I asked AI, what should I call my talk, speaking for you today? And it came up with this, unveiling the inspirations behind women's journeys into IT. I thought it was so poetic and nice, so I used it. But yeah, I've been studying, doing research into why women don't choose to work with IT to the same degree as men do for more than 25 years. And here today, I will share findings from that I discuss in my book from last 5-6 years. So what I'm talking about, it's actually what's happening now. It's not some old stuff, it's what young women in Norway experience right now. And so I will talk about maybe not so much about the barriers, but how do women actually find their way to technology? And to start with, it's important to remember that women are interested in technology. And I will share quotes from women I've interviewed. And they are interested in technology because it's about being prepared for the new digital society. One saying, I was motivated because technology is everywhere. And this is my favorite quote. I'm interested in the world, and technology is a large part of the world. So there you go. Women are interested in technology because it's everywhere for everyone, every day. But moving from that to actually studying technology, that's perhaps more tricky. So what motivates women to study technology? We did a survey nationally in Norway with nearly 700 women responding and asked this question, what motivated you? And they talked about exciting jobs, technology is important in many different occupations, high salary, solving societal problems. And I think these were on the top of their list, and some of these, you would find them among men as well, so that's not so much special for women. But it's more disconcerting to see that less than half of them have been encouraged by school or teachers or received enough information at school to actually make them want to study technology. And very few have been motivated by recruitment measures or leisure time activities or gaming. So there's a notable difference between how men and women actually find the motivation to study technology. And some of this has to do with the challenging images we have of technology. Like, what does an IT expert look like? Most of them, not here today, but in society, in Norway, most of them look like men, unfortunately, still. And the women I've interviewed, they say they keep asking themselves, if you only see men, can I fit? Can my identity fit in this space that we call technology? And there is a lot of gender stereotypes still. And this is a quote from a woman who was the best in her class at university in programming. But she said that her co-students wondered how I can have nice nails and in addition finding programming fun and easy. So it's like her nails were sort of disqualifying her to become an IT expert. And many of the women talked about how they lacked insight. They lacked enough knowledge about IT when they were moving from lower secondary, higher secondary, university. And they hadn't sort of been involved in this, they hadn't been invited to learn about technology. And what happens then? The path to technology for girls in Norway looks like this. It's this dotted line, you can barely see it, while everybody knows the path or highway to healthcare. Everybody understands what healthcare is and how to get there if you want that education. But IT, what's that? It's boring Excel or the guy who's fixing a computer. It's for girls 14, 15, 16 years old, they don't have the image of IT as being as exciting as we know it is. So in our studies, we've asked what brings girls to IT, and if IT is this door on a very high wall, standing on stereotypes and the questions, can I fit if I only see men? We have found two main types. One is the step-by-step path to technology, where you have maybe family with technology background, you have friends who are interested, you have a school that provides some input, media, not least social media. Many young women have to go to social media to find their role models in technology because it's difficult to find them in the neighborhood or at school or etc. And at some point they get enough insight and knowledge and confidence to actually go in that door. But the other way is quite interesting and dramatic. I've used a rocket here because this is from a study where we evaluated the girls in technology, jenter og teknologi, where girls at lower and highest secondary school are invited to meet female role models and learn about technology. And that event could make girls completely turn their study path. Some of them said, well, I was planning to study healthcare, but now I'm going to study IT. And we often think about healthcare and technology as very opposite things. They can never meet in a way. But that's completely irrelevant, because this only has to do with someone making the path to IT visible. So it's going from being impossible, invisible, to possible. I've been very interested in finding out when and how this change happens. And in one study, I asked women who study IT at university to draw their chronological pathway to IT from they were children till they decided to study. And in my head, I had this image of, okay, so you start with not knowing, then you have some insight, then you have some interest, and then you make a decision to study. So I made them draw their lines. And this, so you can see this is my scale of ending up with a decision, and then you have the age until you decide. And these three lines, there are three different types of stories. And in general, it shows that girls come later to interest in technology than boys do. We know that from other studies as well. But the most interesting line here is the red one. They didn't have knowledge about IT, didn't have an interest. They barely had decided to study. One of the stories was about a woman wanted to start to study at university, and she didn't know what. And she just took all the different degrees, and she did like that. Okay, information technology, yeah, I don't know what that is. And she just bought a very cheap laptop. First day, they were going to program in BASIC, and she didn't know anything about it and was completely confused. But then she got some help, and she was hooked from the first day. And she was doing a PhD in IT when I interviewed her. So that, for me, is the really, really interesting group of women here. So what are the turning points here? Norwegian girls, they just don't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to study IT. They do it after they've had some kind of input, seen something, learned something, heard something, done something. And one of the women who had started on a different bachelor degree was invited to this introductory course in IT about programming, and she said it was the most fun subject she'd ever had. So she just dropped her bachelor, started another one in IT. Many of the women have told stories about they get interested the moment they realize they can combine IT with something else. For instance, health and technology. One of them told she wanted to become something in healthcare, but she didn't like blood, so okay, health and technology was perhaps better suited for her. And one said she wanted to become an author, but that's not a very secure job, so she decided to go for programming, because then she could be creative with text. And another one said, I'm interested in biology, but I didn't want to study that. But then I found bioinformatics, so I know about biology. I don't know anything about informatics, but maybe I can start there. So finding their feet in something they already knew, and then open the door to something they didn't know. And here, I think, is also the potential for AI to recruit women, because AI is not just about the tech part. It's so important to bring in the social science aspect, humanities aspect, and all these other disciplines. But so there are many reasons for women to want to study technology, but it can still be challenging to actually start doing it. And I want to show a quote from a young woman who was struggling with finding out how she could be both a girl and interested in technology. And she'd met the female role model at Jenter Teknologi, Girls in Technology, and she said, a female role model made us think that it's possible to study technology. It's possible to combine it with being a girl and not really having an interest in it. Or you do have an interest in it, but it's not just technology that defines you. So you can see how she's sort of, being a girl doesn't fit with being interested in technology, and she's trying to find how to bridge it. And seeing that female role model was really what made her start think that she could also do that. So all of this comes down to that interest in technology is neither enough nor a requirement for studying IT. It's not enough because so many of the women haven't had enough guidance and help and support if they were interested in, or when they were interested in studying IT. Some of them had started on other studies and gone all the wrong way, having to start again. It's really complicated to figure out what is the right way. And it's not a requirement because you can be interested in the world, and that can give you the motivation you need to study IT. So we need to think differently on interest. What kind of interest motivates someone to study IT? And I think the really critical challenge we have today is that the supporters are in doubt about the girls' interest in IT. They think of it as natural that there are few women and girls in technology. And if that's natural, if that's what you're used to see, you don't think about it as something you should fix. It's just there. When we have interviewed schools, we've heard it's too early to recruit at lower secondary, it's too late at higher secondary. And we only invite those who are interested to recruitment initiatives. And that creates a paradox where girls don't necessarily express interest in IT, and if they don't do that, they are not perceived as interested. And then they are less likely to be invited to learn about technology. And with the lack of insight, they are less likely to then express. And there you can go. So the paradox is that girls' greatest chance of being recruited into technology today is when they are already interested in technology. And this fails to pick up this really, really interesting group. The red line, remember, the women who never imagined a career in technology. And this is the different pathways I discuss in the book of how women come to technology. All those with color on could be described as or fit the category of women who never imagined a career in technology. It's a quite large group. So gender equality, we want it, but how should we get it? It's a widely accepted norm, but it's nobody's responsibility to create change. And the continuous male dominance in IT is not considered a violation to gender equality norms because it's just what we are used to see. It's just there. And I want to share this quote from a woman who says, "It's a cultural thing. It was one of the most suitable studies for girls. And what's about her? She didn't grow up in Norway. She grew up in a culture where she was actually encouraged to study IT because it was suitable for girls." And my question is, how can we make technology become one of the most suitable studies for girls also in Norway? So what can we learn from these women? Definitely, it takes a village to raise a child. They need more support, they need role models, and they need a lot of pointers to technology, not this invisible path. But they need to be encouraged based on things we know that girls are interested in, but also things we don't think they're interested in, like cool gadgets and cool technology, because girls are also interested in that. And we do need more women in technology, because when we design technology, we design ourselves. We design the society. And we want a society with technology that is inviting and inclusive for everybody. So that's what I was going to say. You can read more in my book.